start. Our first question relates to small businesses. As communities across West Yorkshire, of course, continue to navigate economic pressures, many of our city centres are feeling the strain. So do we have Muna Chinso with us? Can you make yourself known? Thank you so much. We'll just get the microphone to you. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. My name is Muna Chinso. And my question will be, how do you support small businesses facing rising costs, especially in town sectors that are struggling?
Okay, thank you for that question, and thank you everybody for coming this evening. I often panic that nobody will come, so I'm really, really pleased to see you all. Thank you, and really up for any question about anything. And if I can't answer, I'll use my colleagues, and if we can't answer, we'll definitely get back to you with an answer. You know, we want this to be a conversation where we can talk about the brilliant things that are going on in Wakefield, but also the challenges. Thank you for that question about business. Do you have a business? Oh, okay, good, an entrepreneur, brilliant. So look, just talking about business more generally, we've just had our business board at the Combined Authority today, and there was definitely a feeling that we have a role to play in supporting businesses on the high street, not just SMEs or in manufacturing or health tech or life sciences. The high street is the heart of communities. And we've seen, haven't we, with the national insurance and also the minimum wage uplift, which I really value, and I think people should be paid properly, there should be more money in their pockets, but it has been challenging for business. But I also think there's been an extra challenge about the way that retail has changed over the last 5 years. COVID really accelerated that change, that so many people now buy things online. And, if you don't use it, you do lose it. And I'm also guilty of that I buy things online, or I get things delivered, not necessarily going to the high street. So talking to leaders across West Yorkshire about how you can make city centres more magnetic. And there's loads of innovations about whether it's child-friendly events, or whether it's light night, getting footfall in high streets. But I know that here in Wakefield, I hope that you see there are areas where it's absolutely fabulous in Wakefield. The pedestrianisation, the historic England, doing the new fascias of a lot of the shops, bringing them back to how they should look, really investing in that high street. But also there are challenges. And I know that here there's a challenge around the ridings, and investment in city centres is coming. And the vision that the council have for their city centre is really exciting, and I'm here to back them. But it isn't just about Wakefield, it's also about Castleford, it's also about Pontefract, and keeping those identities of those communities and what does that high street offer. I think it's really important to try and make sure we don't let the chains take over, but to support businesses. Now, we've just launched our Business Growth Hub. It's the first time we've done it since I became the mayor, and it's like a front door for business support. So whoever you are, whether you run a big business, a family business, you're an entrepreneur, or it's a micro business, you'll go to that portal and you will get advice and guidance about next steps, support, grants for sustainability to make your business greener and cleaner, bring down your energy bills, support for young people, how you can help us get young people into work in retail. There's a whole load of offer within that Business Growth Hub, because my job is to grow the economy, and we are a region that nearly 90% of our businesses are SMEs, so we've got to support SMEs going forward. But I think it's about ensuring that our city centres and our town centres are really great places to hang out in and to shop. But good luck with your enterprise, whatever it is.
And you've preempted with the next question, which was, you mentioned the ridings there. So is Emma here? Emma S. Emma, we'll just get the microphone to you. Thank you.
Yes, I was asked the question, what impact will the loss of the ridings have on local businesses and other stakeholders, for example the cathedral in the centre of Wakefield?
Thank you. My understanding, and I'll pass over to Denise to give more detail, but my understanding from what I've seen, the ambition from Wakefield is off the scale. In the Castleford, for example, the ambition for Castleford, that whole regeneration of that town is going to be a once in a generation opportunity. And the same is true of the centre. The cathedral is stunning and it's beautiful, and far too often it's a magnet for on-street drinkers. It doesn't feel safe necessarily. You wouldn't choose necessarily all of the shops running down away from that further south. And I think that's why the investment is so important. Just making the church the sort of jewel in the crown of a really wonderful public realm where you can spill out of cafes, sit there in the sunshine, have a coffee. That sort of European experience. I know that Wakefield have got great ambitions, and you've seen WX, how that has really generated fantastic footfall. I mean, there was a weekend where there was a gaming careers advice session at Wakefield, at Wakefield X, and 2,500 young people and their families went through the door. I mean, that is amazing for retail. So having those magnetic shops as well, I know M&S, and other, really desirable retail companies coming to Wakefield indicates that we've a lot to offer, because across the country you see M&S, John Lewis pulling out of communities, and that's the wrong direction of travel. But Denise, you know much more about the ridings than I do. Do you want to just say a few things?
Should we just get
the microphone
to Denise?
Thank you, Denise. But I think what you're doing is it's a really good vision for the city centre.
Yeah, I do understand, and I have been around a long time, and I remember the ridings when it was first built, and it was the first shopping centre in the country, and people used to come in coachloads to see the ridings. But unfortunately, shopping patterns have changed. Primark coming out of the ridings, M&S coming out of the ridings, and the Zahid who bought the ridings has put a lot of effort into it to try and keep it going, bringing new shops in. But we had an opportunity with government funding to really revitalise the town, and we have a new partner, a strategic partner, Muse, working with us with government funding. We have the opportunity to acquire the ridings, and it won't be demolished straight away. It will be there for some time, but the opportunity for the funding that we've got from government won't be there forever, and it was a chance really to move things forward. And I know that people will be upset about losing the ridings. It's an emotional thing. I go to the ridings every day to shop at Marks and Spencer's, and to lose that, but we are getting a new Marks and Spencer's excuse me, at City Fields, but that won't help the ridings. But we felt this was an opportunity to move it forward. I know it doesn't please everyone, but we will make sure that all the people who have businesses in the ridings will be relocated in our new plans in the town centre. So there's a lot to go for, and it will take some time. I think the frustration about regeneration, when I first got involved in regeneration, I thought it would happen overnight and we'd create thousands of jobs and we'd be building this, that and the other. But it does take some time, and it is a few years down the line before we move forward on this. But I do believe that it's the right thing to do. If we didn't take action now while we have the money, we could end up with a derelict shopping centre in the centre of Wakefield, and I don't think that is a good idea.
No, thank you very much for that, Denise. And I think that is true, that often regeneration feels very disruptive, but then when you've got something that's really amazing, you think, would you want it to go back to how it was? And often the answer is absolutely no. And the same is true in Bradford City Centre, the meadow that has been created there. Leeds is the same. You know, why can't Wakefield have that investment, that, you know, tens of millions of pounds in its city centre?
Right, well, moving on. The next question is from Thomas, and I don't know if Thomas came in a little later. No.
I'd just like to make a comment.
Well, can we wait till the end? Is that all right, sir? Because we're just going to get through these questions and then it will, we'll open it up. So, Thomas, it's a bit related to that in that it's what more will you do across West Yorkshire and Wakefield to tackle retail crime, antisocial behaviour, so people feel safe to visit businesses and feel supported?
Well, thank you for that question, and I'll definitely come to Alison for this, but what's been really good to see is that the government have had a number of what they call the summer surge and then the winter surge, where you will see in Wakefield City Centre numbers of police and PCSOs in high-vis jackets, because there's been a real investment in city centre crime. And actually, what is the good news is that has really driven down the numbers when it comes to retail crime, robbery, and also what has been very helpful. There's no point just driving down the crime, but also making sure that there are more convictions and that criminals don't get away with it, so it's a deterrent. But Alison, I wonder if you, because you've got some figures for me for Wakefield. Yes, thank you. Because crime comes up wherever I go, so Alison is my wing woman when it comes to crime data.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I visit the police on a very regular basis, and I came to Wakefield about 2.5 weeks ago. I met the senior leadership team and I made some notes of the conversations that we had. So these are actually hot off the press in relation to retail crime and some other crimes. But we were really lucky that our former Home Secretary, Wakefield MP, Yvette Cooper, who obviously covers Castleford and Pontefract, that she had a vision for neighbourhood policing and has brought forward this thing called the Neighbourhood Policing Grant, which is about giving money to forces up and down the country to invest in neighbourhood policing officers and then to support them to deal with crime in city centres. So we've had, as Tracy said, money during the summer. It was called the Summer Surge, which was about focusing on the city centre, supporting businesses to reduce retail crime. There's the National Retail Crime Action Plan that all forces signed up to a few years back, and which Tracy signed up to in her policing crime plan. And then there were 100 new police officers recruited into West Yorkshire as of June last year. And we've also had a winter surge, which is the same as the summer monies. And together, I can tell you that we've had the overall largest decrease in summer surge related crime between July and September in the whole of West Yorkshire. And this district decreased crimes by a total of 29%. So those were retail, city centre, ASB type crimes, down by 29%. Business robbery was the only crime to increase, and there's technical reasons why that is the case, because the way that we capture that information has just changed. But everything else has gone down. Criminal damage is down 14%, drug possession is down 29%, public order offences down 28%, and violence without injury down 7%. So some really good outcomes. And actually across the whole of Wakefield, this year, compared to the 12 months at the end of December 2025, we've had nearly 2,000 less victims of crime. All crime is down 4.6% here in Wakefield. Nationally, that's down 1.8%. So Wakefield is really bucking the trend and doing some fantastic work. Again, neighbourhood crime, so some of that antisocial behaviour that you're seeing in the city centres, that comes under neighbourhood crime. That's down 26% across the whole of the borough, not just in the city centre. And burglary is down 32.6%, theft from motor vehicle down 41%. Very serious crimes like knife-enabled robbery, that's nearly 22% down, and all knife crime is down nearly 10%. So I could go on. Some really, really good performance from West Yorkshire. that could not be possible without the investment, not just from the police, from the government, but also the council. So the council have been investing in policing and safer communities through a fund called the Safer Prosperities Fund, and that's been doing a lot of work, particularly in Castleford and Pontefract. They've got a town centre manager, both here in Wakefield but also in Castleford and Pontefract, and they're working together with the police to improve the experience for shoppers, for residents, but they're also looking at practical things like the public space protection orders. So they've got one here in Wakefield, and that is widened police powers. We've got Wakefield wardens, again an investment from the council. So we've got wardens who can give out CBOs, community behaviour orders, and other orders to prevent people from coming into the city centre and causing harm. So there's a real partnership here in Wakefield that's supported by government, supported by your local authority, supported by West Yorkshire Police, and definitely supported by the Mayor.
Thank you so much for that, Alison. And the same is true of violence against women and girls. We fund a safe space. We've funded Ask for Angela across Wakefield. So, you know, there will be people who want to make you feel like we're in a lawless society. Well, we're not, because if you focus on what needs to be done and you listen to the public who are telling you what needs to be done and you're responsive, I think hopefully we can together have that safer community that we all want.
Well, let's move on to jobs, opportunities. Is Matthew R here? I'm not sure if Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. If you just wait for the microphone, please. Great, thank you.
Hi, it was from the Early Careers Network at Wakefield Council, and we just wanted to know how are you helping young people in Wakefield access good apprenticeships and training that lead to real jobs, and why should young people stay in Wakefield?
Thank you, what a great question. And I absolutely believe that you shouldn't have to leave to achieve. And that's my mantra for all the work that we're doing when it comes to careers. Whether that's as an engineer, we are the home of the engineer. Whether that's an engineer, whether that's been an actor, whether that's been in construction, you should be able to have an amazing career, starting as an apprentice or starting out as a trainee, and then being a manager or, you know, as a leader or, you know, an owner of a business. We should be able to offer all of that trajectory. So what's brilliant about Wakefield, you've got so many learning opportunities. So you've got the college, the way we're in, you've got Kappa, you've got Production Park, there's also training opportunities in the 5 towns, in communities, and saying to young people that we believe in you. Tragically, there are far too many young people who are not in education, employment or training, and it's a privilege of mine that I'm on Alan Milburn's commission into NEETs and how we can turn the tide on those young people who are leaving school and on an EHCP, you know, they need support in school, and then they're going straight into adult benefits when they leave school, and then nobody's picking them up and saying, you know, you might have a challenge, but we can help you, and then getting them into a training program or into work. So that's why our Careers Hub has been so important. We spent quite a substantial amount of money on the Careers Hub to ensure that you can have a one-stop shop about what you want to do. Not everybody wants to go to university. That is not the solution for everyone. So being able to say to a young person who's 16, 17, actually an apprenticeship is an amazing start in life, or, you know, being able to have what the government have now brought in, which is like a midway between school and an apprenticeship, because not every young person is ready for an apprenticeship. Then they're not, you know, they're not experienced or used to going out to work. So there's a way that we can develop modules that are short-term courses to get young people ready for work. But I think being able to press government as well, which I am doing through devolution, to have devolved powers on careers, because it is crazy that there are centralised organisations that come into our community and deliver careers advice. They don't know our businesses, they don't know the pathways for our young people, they don't know the opportunities that are out there. So I am continuing telling that story that, you know, careers should sit with us because we can be really innovative and agile. So for example, a business can tell me that they need a particular type of workforce. We can, within a matter of months, working with our FE colleges, set that up and get a training program underway. We had one for 800 telecoms engineers. Nearly 90% of them got into work. I mean, that is quite incredible data for young people that might not ever feel that they have a technical, they have the technical skills to get a job that's really well paid. But I know that you do a really good job here in Wakefield. We did a piece of work about Wakefield Futures, on trying to understand, does Wakefield need a university? And we brought in some really great people who through a lot of work, we have come to the conclusions that what we need is access to opportunity. So being able to have a centre where you can just go, like you'll remember Connections, where young people could walk in off the street and get help and guidance. So to advise young people about what the next steps are, but also parents, because quite frankly, I don't know about you, but my youngsters, you know, when they were growing up, there were jobs that were available now that I had no idea what they were 10, 15 years ago. And I've just become a grandma, and I look at this little dot of a thing and I think, I have no idea what the jobs are going to be in the next 20 years for you. So I think it's also about trying to support our parents to understand those great jobs of the future.
And just really briefly expanding a little bit on that, Mayor, we also have children, don't we? Well, children, teenagers that are looking to college, uni perhaps, but in the pandemic they spent a lot of time at home. A lot of them have sort of lost their confidence, and they might be very anxious. How do we sort of encourage them to put themselves forward and to have that confidence to get out in the jobs market or apprenticeships?
I couldn't agree more, and I was at a violence reduction partnership session this morning at Leeds City College, where young people, it was all girls, age 16, and they were wearing VR headsets, talking about antisocial behaviour, what it looks like, decision making, the choices that they were making took them on to a different part of the story. And a lot of them were very, shy and not very good at, speaking up for themselves and sharing an idea. And that's why we've become a region of learning and creativity, that I've pledged every young person will have access to grassroots sport and creativity, but also those soft skills of, creative problem solving or oracy, or being able to articulate an idea, that they will be supported through the West Yorkshire Promise. And that is going to be delivered, we've already started it, but delivered with rugby teams and football teams and guides, organisations that are already doing this work. How do we support them to empower our youngsters to have the confidence to be their genuine self, but also to understand that we as adults really want them to achieve. And I don't know about you, everybody's got their own personal view, but I would really like to get young people off their phones. And I know there's a debate in Parliament, but under 16, those young people in this VR training session, a couple of young girls were on their phones and they were just not engaged in the session. And it's so frustrating, isn't it? Because they're being taught other things by other people who might not necessarily have their best interests at heart.
They're actually losing their ability to have a conversation.
Yeah. Right, we'll move on. Well, International Women's Day this week, of course, kick-started the week, and this next question relates to that. Is Haslin here?
Yes.
Have I pronounced that correctly? You can correct me on the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, all right? And good evening, ladies. Okay, my question is very straightforward. What specific policies or funding commitments will you introduce to increase the number of women entering and staying in construction across Yorkshire? Because I know very well that only 1 or 2% of ladies involved in certain trades, plumbers, electricians, we have still shortage of it. So I hope there is a solution to make it to 10 or 20% at least. Thank you.
Thank you, what a great question. And also, if you've not been to the Art House in Wakefield, opposite the station, there is an exhibition of the amazing banners from the Reclaim the Night March in Wakefield. that was in November, I think it was. It's an amazing exhibition, do go. We funded Reclaim the Night marches across the whole of the region, and it was, whilst it was a very wet night, it was really good and empowering for women to have their voice heard, that when the clocks go back, that doesn't mean to say you can't go out, go running, go and see your friends, go through the park because you're worried because it's got dark. So to your point about construction, totally agree with you. These are super jobs. Why is it that we don't feel as women that they are jobs for us? Which is why I have been really delighted to be able to lean into opportunities for women in West Yorkshire. So when we have a programme, so let's say West Yorkshire Entrepreneur Programme, we can set targets. So 50% women, 20% people of colour, 13% people with a disability, because we want everybody in West Yorkshire to have those opportunities. And in construction it's particularly hard. We have an ageing population of workforce, and also it is seen as a male-dominated environment. However, the good news is that Leeds College of Construction, the only bespoke college of its nature in the country, had just been given £500,000 to be a centre of excellence in construction. And they have seen, because of the leadership, it's the first time they've had a female leader, and our support, they have seen a real uplift in the numbers of women in construction. And if I may just tell a very quick story, that Leeds 2023, back in the day, they had a year-long festival of culture. We funded a programme called the Wow Barn. It was on the moor, 24 hours, a group of 300 women raised an oak barn, and anybody that's in construction or is a carpenter in this room will know that that's quite a feat. 150 experienced makers, carpenters and builders, 150 completely brand new beginners to construction. Through 24 hours they raised this barn. It became a venue for 2 weeks. Young women called the Wowzers curated a programme of events, and then the barn was taken down and given to an inner city farm as an outdoor classroom. Now the point of this story is that those women, the 150, had never picked up a saw or a hammer, and the uptick in women enrolling for plumbing and carpentry courses in the College of Construction was an extraordinary blip in their numbers. Now, I'm not saying they're completely connected, but I would like to think those women thought, finally, why have I never thought I can do this job? Because, frankly, if you're a female tradeswoman, you can go in any home across the region, because there's a number of occasions where women will only want women tradeswomen, tradespeople, so that they can feel secure in their homes, so you will never be out of work. And the same is true with, I mentioned telecoms engineers. We put it out to recruitment, it was all men. So we put on a female-only telecoms course. We shortened the day, so if you've caring responsibilities, you can still do that. Lengthened the course, and I think it was about 43 women on that course, all graduating, all working in telecoms. Some became trainers of other women, but a lot of those women were single parents or on low wages, but now have access to a really good career. I think we have a unique moment here in West Yorkshire. The first ever female Metro Mayor, the first ever Nikki leading the College of Construction, the government demanding more people delivering construction because of the 1.5 million homes we've got to build. I am spending 20 million on retrofitting homes, committing to retrofit all social homes across West Yorkshire. You're going to hear the sound of hammering and sawing resounding over the whole region for the next few years. This is our moment to lean into it and say, this is a job for girls.
Thank you. Now we're going on to...
Can I just ask, are you an engineer or a carpenter?
QS by profession.
Ah, a quantity surveyor.
Yes.
I bet you're never not busy.
Yeah, I'm developing our Doncaster Sheffield Airport now.
Oh,
Because it's going to open 2028.
Goodness me, that's an amazing, to be part of that team is quite historic.
Thank you.
Oh, we need you to come back here and work here. We don't need you working in Doncaster.
AI is not going to take those jobs, I don't think. Right, we've got Jonathan here to talk transport. Thank
My
you,
favourite,
Jonathan.
finally,
Our
someone
favourite
talking about
subject.
transport.
Good evening, Tracy. Nice to see you again. I'm not going to ask you about a railway station for Harbury Nassett.
I know, you know my answer, you've heard it a number of times.
And the councillors on the front row will be hoping I don't ask that, but it's a bit wider than that this evening I'd like to talk to you about. So it's thinking about your transport strategy for Wakefield and our surrounding villages and towns. Just think about the next few years, how it's going to promote accessible transport for all, which would include rail, bus and cycle. Thank you.
Thank you so much. For those of you that don't know, we're bringing buses back into public control, the Weaver network, and at the risk of a Barbara Windsor moment, I'm actually branded. I see the older people in the audience get that. They know who Barbara Windsor is. So the Weaver network is taking in bus, rail, tram, and electric bike, active travel. We're on a journey, so by 27, 2/3 of West Yorkshire will be franchised. The bus network will be the Weaver branded bus network, and then by 2028 the whole of the region will have Weaver franchised buses. Now remember that we have bus companies that have been taking the profits from our region and sending it back to their shareholders and have been cutting route after route after route. I have been sick to death of this broken bus network, and I believe that the Weaver integrated transport plan is going to really help us grow our economy, because those profits that have been sent to offshore companies will now be brought back into our region, so we can have more routes, more affordability, more electric buses. We have just signed off 100 million for electric buses. I was the first mayor in the country to bring in the mayor's fare. I don't know if you remember the £2 fare. It was then capped by government at £3. We kept it at £2.50. We want to keep it as low as possible. And that has saved the people of West Yorkshire 73 million, that's right, 73 million pounds has been saved from people of West Yorkshire, because we took that decision back in 2022 to bring in the mayor's fare. And remember, we were the first to do it before government. Now, it's no point having a cheaper bus if you don't have the bus coming to the end of your street, because the company has cut that service or it's not reliable. So we're upping the reliability, but also we know that Wakefield has been really poorly served by Arriva. It's been pretty shocking. 10% cancellations, ghost buses, unreliable buses. So we've really worked hard with Arriva, and now it's between 1% and 2% cancellations, but we know that's not good enough while we wait for franchising. So we're funding the Superbus, which is buses to the 5 towns, and up to the hospital, up to Pinderfields. That route is coming back in. And we're also funding the free shuttle bus that goes around town, because we know that you deserve better. And for a lot of people in Wakefield, they don't have the rail network to rely on. It is all about the bus. So I'm really excited about the difference we can make with franchising in buses. And I think the council have been brilliant, and Matthew Morley, the council on the front row, has been your absolute champion when it has come to buses, because there'll be routes cut left, right and centre by Arriva, and Matthew has been like a dog with a bone. You cannot allow this for the people of Wakefield. We have been so badly served by Arriva. So we've found the money, we've teamed and ladled money to make sure that we can do what we can, whilst it's not franchised yet, for Wakefield. Because you should have access to the hospital. And the people of the 5 towns shouldn't be cut off like an island because they've got no transport. And that's why we're investing in more car parking at Pontefract. That's why we are, I think it's 121 new parking spots. Is that Castleford, Pontefract? Yeah, 121 more places at Pontefract. So people can drive to the station and then get the train, because we want people to be able to get out of their cars and use public transport. We can't do that at the minute if it's not working. So it's a journey, but I really want to encourage you to, just bear with us, because I really do believe that we can turn this around for Wakefield. And our electric buses, we're finding in Bradford with the clean air zone and electric buses that we're bringing down GP appointments for respiratory issues by 25% because of getting those diesel buses off the streets, and also their clean air zone it's quite a small area of Bradford. So we're here to help, and I know that Wakefield are really keen to get these buses up and running.
Well, Mel, we did have a lot of questions about buses, very similar. You've sort of answered Sue, are you here? Sue's question in a way about unreliability of buses. But Sue, if you want to just stand up, what sort of issues in particular? We know the Mayor has spelt out a lot there that's hopefully going to improve it. What problems do you experience?
Yeah, I've answered quite a bit of it, but the reason I wanted to ask the question about reliability is I've got 3 children, adult children, none of who drive. And it's virtually impossible for them to get to work, even though one only works 1 village away, because you'd have to spend an hour going completely the wrong direction to get another bus to completely come back again. And we don't have any local buses. We live right in the middle of Leeds, Wakefield and Castleford, and you cannot go from one village to another, early morning or evening. So work is just completely out of the question, and I'm sick of being a taxi.
I think with 3 kids, you're definitely a taxi. Just one thing that I forgot to mention that we've just launched this week, and that's probably why it slipped my memory, is we have just announced in Wakefield only, in West Yorkshire, we are bringing in free travel for people with a disability pass before 9:30. Because there are too many people who have a disability that want to work, and that could be potentially the thing that stopped them getting into work for 9 o'clock. So we're going to do it as a pilot to see what the numbers are, and then roll it out across West Yorkshire. And also, just finally, if you have a disability that wouldn't be visible to maybe the driver, you can have an orange pass. So the drivers know that if you tap with an orange pass, you have a hidden disability. So they give you more time, they are more helpful to you. Just on that accessibility issue. But I totally understand your problem. One of the solutions, I don't know where you live or how far the work is. One of the solutions is active travel and cycling. If any of your kids would be interested in, and it was not too far, but for that to happen, they've got to feel safe on the roads. So that's why we're spending a lot of money on cycle lanes and infrastructure, because you've got to feel separated from the traffic in order for you to be confident. I think the threshold should be, would you allow your 7-year-old to ride on this bit of the road on a bicycle? And if the answer is no, then we need to do something, because it should be safe if you choose active travel. And we've got companies like Haribo, for example, an amazing employer, taking on loads of apprentices, really innovative, works with us, lots of great programs for leadership and everything, and nobody can get there. It's just so annoying. We've got to look at this in the round, and we've just had companies that have just been taking the profits out of our region and not putting them back in with those routes that are socially necessary. What are your 3 youngsters doing?
One's currently in Asia, she's just finished uni, so she's travelling, but she's an ecologist. My middle one is a craft gardener at Temple Newton, and that's a problem. We live 10 minutes away, but she just cannot get there early morning.
Yeah.
And my son's an engineer.
Wow, great parenting going on over there. That's quite a roster of fantastic achievements. And Temple Newton is a beautiful place, but you're only 10 minutes away and you can't get there.
Yeah, and that's the problem. The road is a really dangerous road.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like driving on it, let alone letting somebody go on a car there.
Yeah.
So to get a bus route takes 1 hour and 2 buses.
That's the challenge.
Right, well, the next one is about danger. This is on the pavements, really. Sandra, I don't think Sandra made it in the end. but something that I think all of us probably have experienced here. Can we please tackle the use of cycles and scooters on our pavements to keep pedestrians safe?
Yeah, scooters aren't legal, is my understanding, but I'll come to Alison. But in some areas they're piloting scooters, but on the pavement it's absolutely unacceptable. And I know that there's been a focus in particular areas of where it's been persistent, electric bikes and scooters. Alison, do you want to speak to bikes and scooters?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's a very complex area because the law around e-bikes, for example, says you're not allowed to use an e-bike on the road, let alone the pavement, and yet everybody buys e-bikes for the kids for Christmas, birthdays, all the rest of it. And it's very confusing because there are pilot areas in the UK where people can use e-bikes on the roads, never on the pavement, of course. And so what policing are trying to do is be pragmatic. In fact, this matter is going to be discussed in the Mayor's Joint Independent Ethics Committee in a couple of weeks' time about whether or not the police should take a tougher line on people who maybe their teenage kids are going to school on their e-bikes. And so we're going to be asking our Ethics Committee, all independent people, Vicar of Halifax is the chair, on what the police response should be. But what they're doing currently is they're giving people warnings, and if they offend 3 times, then they take the vehicles off them.
Is this e-scooters or e-bikes?
Well, both.
Oh, right,
You're not allowed, if they've got them on the pavement, you're not allowed them.
Uh-huh.
And obviously, where they're legal, where they're supposed to be capped at a certain speed and all the rest of it, so it's all really complicated because you don't know whether or not things have been capped until you stop the bike. There's a huge amount of work going on with West Yorkshire Police and Leeds City Council as a pilot. It will roll out to the rest of the county on food delivery drivers. That is incredibly dangerous that food delivery drivers are driving on pavements, pedestrianised zones, and they're not insured, they're individual businesses, so there's a big piece of work stopping those people. Actually, we know that some of those drivers are involved in modern day slavery, so they have been trafficked to this country. They're in debt bondage, their bikes are given to them and then they have to pay off the debt. That's another story, but it's about understanding that this is a really complex landscape. For those misbehaviours, antisocial behaviour, off-road bike use in your communities, West Yorkshire Police is really alive to the fact that this is a major concern for communities. It's one of the top things that was named in the Mayor's Police and Crime Plan consultation. The police have invested in off-road bike teams, the ORBD, and they're enhancing those off-road bike teams. And in Leeds again, because Leeds is the biggest area, but actually in Wakefield at Cargate, you've got some specialist bikes that can be used anywhere on road, off road, because the tyres have got to be the right tyres. I know it all sounds really boring and complicated, but there's lots and lots of technicality.
Alison, I hate to interrupt, but you know we've all walked along a street recently, and out of nowhere, you nearly knocked to the ground. We're pedestrianising these areas, making them lovely European, and then it's being ruined by a lot of people by these. Shouldn't they just not be allowed there, or should there not be stronger prosecution, rather than just, oh, we'd rather you didn't?
Yeah, but it's about the capacity of the local authority, the capacity of the police to, first of all, identify these abusers. You'd have to be stood on every street corner where there are pedestrianised zones. We're trying to develop a licensing schemes with local authorities, so especially for food delivery drivers, for example, so that the businesses using the drivers have got to be licensed, there's got to be insurance on the bikes. It's really complicated because, yes, we don't want them on that road, they shouldn't be on that road, they're potentially committing an offence. They're only committing an offence if there's been there's a PSPO stopping them cycling on that pedestrianised area, for example. So the legislation needs to be sorted. Tracy and I have spoken to Department for Transport about bringing some national legislation around this, so that we've got clarity and unanimity across the country. But until we get that, it's piecemeal, and the legislation is not supporting the police to take effective action. But we're trying to develop that pilot in Leeds with the food delivery organisations. We've got the public space protection orders in central Wakefield and in Castleford Pontefract, where we are able to give these orders if you can catch them, and then we need to make sure that the police have got the capacity and capability through their off-road bike teams to be able to catch these people who are terrorising. I mean, they might be thinking they're having fun, but they're terrorising their neighbourhoods. It's a really complex landscape, and we need the public to tell us where these bikes are, because if they tell us that, the bikes can be removed, and those young people can be dealt with effectively. And it's not always about criminalising them. You know, I was young once, believe it or not, but we do need to make sure that our streets are safe for all of us.
Oh yes,
I think that's really helpful, thank you. But also, we all like the convenience of Deliveroo. And if the restaurant is in a pedestrian area, they've got to go and get the food. So we've got to find a way in the modern world to make this work for everybody. And they're not in souped up bikes, zooming through pedestrianised areas. That there is a protocol that everybody has to follow.
You know, our next one, Amanda. Amanda, you made it fantastic. We'll just get the microphone to you if that's okay. Yeah, maybe if they use the bells a bit more.
Yeah.
That would be useful. Thank you, Amanda.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for coming in. I need more housing, as I have 2 teenagers, and they will want an affordable house. But there is so much development of 4 and 5 bed houses. Where are the affordable homes? And how do we keep our green spaces and stop the town being overdeveloped with the enormous building programme that's going on at the moment?
Thank you. Well, housing is a real challenge for everyone, everywhere, across the country. And I grew up in social housing in Batley, and I know that that was a game changer for me and my sister, that we had that secure home growing up. And there was nothing more wonderful in one of my first, I think it's 2 years in Linley in Huddersfield, where I met a family that had been homeless, 2 kids, she's pregnant. They were made homeless by the landlord who was worried about the no-fault eviction, and they got the keys to an affordable house for their family. Now, it wasn't a 1-bed flat because they needed a house, but those kids will grow up and stay there in that community, and they will have that enrichment of you know, growing up next to kids growing up the same, you know, going to the same school and all of that. So it's really important. Now, you talk about 4 and 5 bedroomed houses. I would say there is a need for those in that. We need people whose families are growing to leave the 2-bedroomed houses and move to 3 and 4, because we also need the people in 1-bedroomed houses who've just had a baby to move into the 2-bedroom. So it's part of the landscape of offer. Now, for me, my focus has been on affordable. I pledged 5,000 affordable homes, and working with our housing associations, in West Yorkshire Housing Association, we got above and beyond that. But we have built more affordable homes here in West Yorkshire than at any time since the economic crash in the last 2 years, and still it's miles away from what the government wants us to deliver their 1.5 million. So we've got to get on. And this is why I need local authorities to play their part. And I know that the 1,000 homes in Wakefield city centre are actually part of the solution to one of the questions earlier about the city centre. And you see this in Leeds and Bradford. The densification of city centres with accommodation is the way that you keep them alive. That they're no longer just, you know, managed decline. People are living and working there, using those shops, you know, coming back late at night, using the takeaways. It is building that community. I'm really, really determined to deliver again another 5,000 affordable homes. It isn't going to be easy. It's a landscape of really difficult challenges. The war in Iran, All of these things have a massive knock-on effect on prices and inflation in housing, but we are determined to do it. And the thing that is my key as the Mayor is I can invest in brownfield land. So where there is a plot that has been derelict for decades, we can move in and make that attractive to a developer. So we, the public, take the hit to make that land attractive and develop these packages of housing. And in Wakefield, there's some really good examples of affordable plots of like 60 apartments near the train station, really attractive for young couples who are just getting on and finally being able to get a mortgage because they've both got a job. But I have 2 daughters, both who are actors, and how they'll ever get on the housing ladder, I have no idea. Because you have to have a regular job, you have to show your accounts and all of that. So young people have really got it rough. And unless you've got bank of mum and dad, I do think it's hard. That's why affordability and social housing is so important to me.
We'll stay with young people and the environment. We'll just chat at the end. Is that all right? We're not far off that open question bit.
It's a relevant question.
We will come back to it, honestly, but just got to go through the ones we've selected. So is Paddy here? Yes. All right, so yeah, we've just got the formula that we've...
We'll come to your question,
yeah, we will
sir.
do.
Just other people have just got in their question. It's all right, let's listen. Yeah, go on, love.
Why can local authorities not take over houses that have been empty for 40 years in Hanging Heaton?
Is Hanging Heaton Dewsbury? All right.
Thanks.
Okay, but we're in Wakefield, so thank you for that. And it's something I'll raise with the Kirklees, because you know that Dewsbury's Kirklees.
Yeah, I know it's Kirklees.
So, Paddy, do you want to stand up and ask your question? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Young people, especially from disadvantaged and minoritized backgrounds, often feel unheard. What decision-making power, Mayor, not just consultation, are you prepared to give young people over climate and economic policy?
Thank you for that. And you will know, it sounds like you have an interest in it, that we have declared a climate emergency. We are determined to get to net zero by 2038. That's sooner than government. We have to be very ambitious. Our biggest challenges are transport and housing. That's why the Weaver network is so important, electric buses, to get cars off our street and make our streets cleaner and greener with better air quality. The second biggest challenge is housing. And we live in some of the coldest, windiest, oldest homes, to your point, sir, about our old housing stock. So retrofitting those houses is also important, and supporting businesses to become more sustainable. But I can't do that on my own. I need to understand what young people think, because this is their future. And I often say that I'm planting seeds of trees under whose shade I will never sit, because we have to set the trajectory for what we want in our region. But that's why young people's voices are so important. So when we did the climate and environment plan, we had a whole raft of young people's consultation, the Mayor's big climate chat, where young people told us what they wanted from our strategy. We are a child-first organisation that was established by a colleague who just said, you're not listening to the voices of young people. So we're now, whatever we do, we're now thinking about young people. And whether that's in the Violence Reduction Partnership, whether that's in skills and college, whether that's in the creative industries. I have the Mayor's Screen Diversity Programme, where young people who are a long way away from these great jobs, and young people of colour and young kids with disabilities get the training and access. We are really determined to use your experience and your needs and desires and anxieties about the climate emergency to reflect our plans. We can't do it without you. So hopefully you've engaged with us before, I'd hope so, and if not, then maybe we can have a conversation outside of this meeting. Are you an activist, or Are you part of an organisation?
Yes, called Afrikindness, and we support young people from diverse communities and their parents.
Great. I think we need a conversation after this to know more about your organisation. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, we have one more question, but Mark's not here. So, as lots of people seem to
let's
want
throw
to
it
ask
open,
questions, we might all get into the open question part. So, straight up at the back there, gentleman in the white top, hand cranked straight up. So I'm just waiting for the mic. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the question. I have a two-part question. It goes back to Wakefield City Centre and the small shops and everything that's going on around there. West Yorkshire Police over the past several months have been proud to post that they've been shutting down, as they say, or confiscating the sale of illegal cigarettes and tobacco from shops around Wakefield, Ossett and the surrounding region. Those shops are still active. They are restocked within the hour of West Yorkshire Police and HMRC doing the raids. How are those shops still active? And how has the planning been done to keep increasing all of those? They are taking massive amounts of business away from legal businesses in Wakefield. Those selling cigarettes, tobacco, vapes, things like that. What can the police do? What are the council going to do to tackle the planning and to stop these people from just brushing it off, restocking within an hour and carrying on?
How are they getting the planning?
And how are they getting the
Well,
planning?
everyone going to the centre, if every other shop's the same shop, an illegal cigarette shop, a hairdresser's, or why are you going to go into
There are 17 vape shops within a 2-minute walk of Wakefield Cathedral. There are 13 barbers. There are 8 shops within a 30-second walk of the cathedral steps selling illegal cigarettes. The police are aware of this. It's been reported on Crime Stoppers for 2 years now and nothing's going on. What's happening?
Well, thank you for your attention to this. And of course there will be some vape shops, I mean there will be many that are legal across West Yorkshire, and there is a market for that. But when trading standards are particularly good at identifying shops that are illegal, particularly when it comes to illegal cigarettes, because whilst it may seem like it's a cheap option, we know that illegal cigarettes are part of a network of criminality that is also about human trafficking, it's also about drugs. What we see, illegal cigarettes, is just the tip of the iceberg. So where we see it, we must call it out and we must report it, because often, as I say, that's part of a network of other criminality. Now,
I completely agree with that. We've seen the evidence that they've been reported, they have been raided, but what I'm saying is they are active again within the hour. They are more planning. There is a gentleman in Wakefield that owns 3 of these shops. You were granted him planning for 2 more.
I don't do planning, but
Sorry.
He came in on back in 2002 and he's got all this.
That's a really specific issue for Wakefield. I'm really glad you've raised it. No, I do understand that, but I'm glad you've raised it. The leader and her council colleagues have heard that. So could we have a conversation? What evidence have you seen that we can take away? But I don't know if, Denise, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think...
Should we take that away? Sorry?
Everybody knows. Yeah.
We'll have a conversation outside.
Are you happy for us to take that away? Because it's a very particular question.
No, because everybody's kept in dark, like we would have been if you want to sit up, because you've avoided this question that you said you wanted to ask.
I'm not avoiding... Lovely, I'm not avoiding a question.
This might be about the planning system.
It's planning.
And the problem with the issue of the planning system, which is a national issue, because obviously what you're saying about getting planning for other shops, retail is retail. So actually, with all due respect to the council as well, if that's a retail shop and it's got a retail business use, and that was its previous planning use, you could just literally walk up a sign and down shop.
Unfortunately, if you were to go back to the evidence, and I like to dig, it's what I enjoy doing. The retail shops that are opening, they were not previously retail shops of that nature. They were not retail shops at all.
Anyway, we'll just... Alison's just going to...
So the police are well aware. In fact, in my conversations with the 5 district commanders, this has come up every time, and it's essential that we get the right partnership between trading standards, who have the powers to go in and search the premises and get the evidence of illegal use, Often they don't get the evidence of illegal selling to children, they just get the fags and the vapes and all the rest of it, but not the proof that they're selling them illegally. And then we've got to get local authorities on board to withdraw the licensing. The legal infrastructure is a nightmare, and we need the MPs, the legal people, to pull it all together so that we can go into a business that is clearly part of serious organised criminality and close that business down permanently. There are closure order powers that the police have, and I was in Halifax last summer. They closed 17 businesses in the space of 2 weeks, so they can do it. I know there are plans afoot in Wakefield. It takes a long time because the legal powers are not there and they're not coherent. We'll take it away. We'll get the names of those businesses and I'll talk to West Yorkshire Police, but they can't do it on their own. They need trading standards and they also need the council. So I promise you, at the end I'll stay, I'll get your details, I'll give you my card and we'll sort it out.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Alison.
Alison. Thank
Right,
you.
let's
Good question.
move on. The lady at the back, please. Thank you.
Hi, Tracy, welcome to Wakefield College. Myself and my colleague both work here in the ESOL department. Our college has received multiple complaints from our ESOL students regarding alleged racist behaviour by bus drivers in Wakefield. I did actually send you an email. I tried multiple times, but you kept on sending me back saying it was spam. So that's why my colleague and I decided to come here today. So could you tell us what procedures are in place to investigate and address the concerns, and what assistance can the Mayor offer us and our students in the future?
Well, thank you for what you do for ESOL. And we have just doubled our funding for ESOL to 8 million across West Yorkshire, because it enables people to get access to work and social cohesion and integration. So thank you for all you do to make Wakefield a better place to live. Now, this is unacceptable. The problem is, I do not run the buses yet. So we have got companies that we can write to and complain on your behalf, and we can have evidence, and they can then choose to do what they wish. My challenge is, as we often say as well, is that you've got to have diversity in that sector. It is an ageing cohort of workforce. We have run a number of campaigns to try and support an uplift of bus drivers across our region, but bus drivers with different lived experience to, you know, the majority of drivers that we see, and particularly women. We've worked very hard with the bus companies to get more female drivers as well, because often you need to be able to feel safe on a bus and not to feel judged on a bus, and I think being able to widen the recruitment is really important. But I wonder, Tim, we are going to make sure with our workforce, when we are running the buses, that anybody that doesn't have our values shouldn't be driving a bus. Tim.
Yeah, thank you. No, firstly, yeah, absolutely unacceptable. We shouldn't be accepting that now, and we absolutely won't accept that standard in future. You can take my email address after this meeting as well, and you can write to me personally, or make sure that it doesn't get caught in the spam filters going to the Mayor. But absolutely, you know, every bus operator, certainly that operates in this region, has in-cab footage, and they can record and do record, and can get both audio and video evidence. And again, I can't imagine any bus operator who operates in this region, either now or again under the Weaver network, would say that kind of behaviour is acceptable. So
welcome to come and visit our learners and speak to them.
Yeah, no, and again, I'd really welcome that opportunity. So, you know, and just very briefly, I think making sure that we get young people to be lifelong advocates of the bus and want to enjoy the bus and make use of it is where we want to get to in future. So, you know, getting those people to value the offer that we'll give in future is going to be really important.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Tim. And also, as a region, we speak 170 different languages. We are incredibly diverse, and it's something that we should celebrate and welcome. When you think about back in the day, you know, the Irish Catholics, and then people from India, and then Windrush, we are a very mixed community, and it's something that gives us, a lot of our strengths. So we want to make sure that we are as welcoming as possible to everyone. You know, whether you're Ukrainian, whether you're from Hong Kong, whether you're from, Sudan, you know, you're here, and we're going to make sure that you feel welcome.
Thank you. Gentleman here, second row. Just if you just wait for the microphone, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name's Steve Wilkinson. I used to commute up to Leeds from Sandal for 28 years. After that time, I went to Wicket Park, teaching up there in Far Headingley. But my question is, please can we better integrate facilities between segregated cycle routes and train station facilities for cycles? Could we have safe storage, for example? Many other countries, you mentioned about the European field, like Copenhagen, they're massive carriages full of bikes, and Holland have got racks of bikes, and when you consider, just about 60% of all car journeys are 3 mile or less, it's ridiculous. We can't fill that little gap in with proper legalised electric bikes or real bikes. But putting my bike on the train, when I was sent up to Beckett Park, was liberating. I know it's 4.5 miles, but I could come and go. Just fill that gap in, between Leeds Station and we took it on the train and took it at Sandal. It was good, but we need better facilities. I'm just wondering what's been done.
One of the things thank you so much, and happy cycling. One of the things that we were looking at, and with our plans for further cycle lanes, is you may have seen like the sheds, the like half moons, metal half moons where you can put your bike. They're on the street, and you can operate them like on your phone. It's an app. And you can store your bike safely there. But I agree with you that you should have safe bike storages, but that's why our electric bikes in Leeds and Bradford, they are docking bikes. They're not like line bikes, or we wanted to make sure that those bikes were also safe. But yeah, keep happy cycling.
Yeah,
I'm trying to keep my answers short now because I know lots of people have got questions.
Thank you very much. And this gentleman first, and then you next, please. Sorry, just behind you, and then you'll come to you next. Thank you.
Hi. I'm Councillor Usman Ali, and I represent the ward of Crofton, Ryden and Walton, which includes Havercroft, Colleen, Winterset and Nottingham and Chevy. I know a lot of spoken about and talked about transport and buses. I represent a rural area which touches with the different villages and South Yorkshire and Barnsley. And we have lots of schools in the area in the ward that I represent. One of the things I want to ask Tracy is that we need more buses on the morning for school children. We need buses across the border. A lot of residents from my ward go into Royston. We do have a bus service that goes through South through Belfast into Barnsley, but there was a previous bus that used to go through Royston into Barnsley. A lot of people go shopping, to work, doctor's appointments, go to the gym, swimming in Royston, which they can't access. So there's a problem there. There's a lot of cancellations, sadly, and hope when the Viva network comes into place we can prevent cancellations. But we also need more regular buses in the evening, and we need to connect the rural areas, the city areas and our towns and regions more better.
Thank you. And that's what goes first, weekends, evenings, early mornings, when people are trying to make money on the buses. So we understand people want to go out in the evening, or they want to get to work early. The question you raise is cross-border, and where we have within franchising a permit system that we're implementing that will be able to make sure that those bus services that go cross-border are protected and are built into our Weaver network. But also the joy of devolution is that there is a mayor in South Yorkshire and a mayor in York and North Yorkshire. So we will be able to work collectively on a white rose approach to buses. Where are the buses going from Wetherby onto York, or south from maybe Kippax moving on into Wakefield and then into Barnsley and south. I think it's really important that we have that integrated transport plan, but it doesn't have borders where you have to get off the bus and change everything. So the permits are really important, and I know that Tim and the team are looking at that and make sure that we don't see any disruption in service.
Lovely. This gentleman here.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Swift. Something I just picked up last night, so apologies for no detail in advance. Trains cross boundaries as well, one of the best developments in this part of the world in relation to railways was the restoration of the Manchester to York via Wakefield, Kirkgate and Castleford. All kinds of benefits, all kinds. I now understand that the draft timetables produced by the Transpennine Express Company for operation when they've finished doing all the upgrades through Huddersfield, that service is at best an outside possibility. And I think I'm concerned about that. I think a lot of other people are.
Thank you for that. We know a bit about that, don't we? That it's coming to Kirkgate.
Yeah. I think so. I've not seen those plans personally, but I think what I would say is we speak to TPE and to Northern Power Rail about these plans really quite frequently. One of the things that the Mayor is exploring with the department is further devolution from a rail perspective and making sure that we have the opportunity to specify services that work for us locally and regionally, and that's certainly something that we can take forward as part of those plans and look at how we get the right services for our region, because you're right, whilst these organisations like TPE are now run through the OLR, through the operating last resort arrangements, we still need to make sure they work for us and are not defined by people who don't see the benefit of our region. But again, happy to have a conversation outside of this with you about
The
this.
tragedy is TPE were actually quite keen on that service.
I think what's also useful to know is, like in London when they have the overground and it's part of their ticket, it's the same ticket. What I want to see is that rail is part of our Weaver network. So whether that's that Leeds to Ilkley, just one route back and forth, 5 towns to Leeds, all those 5 towns can be self-contained and be part of the Weaver network. So once there's clarity about how mayors are going to be closer to Great British Rail in the world of devolution, we will have more say. Like the buses, we will have more say over the rail network, where we want it to go and where it serves the public. I think Kirkgate is an amazing station because it's right next to the Hepworth as well. It's an absolute tourist magnet, and yet you can't necessarily get there directly from all over West Yorkshire. So I'm with you, and devolution will give us those opportunities.
Thank you.
Right, we've got lots of hands now, so should we do
Shall I
our
take a
thing
few
where
at
we
a
do a
time?
few at a time, maybe 3 at a time,
Yeah.
so thank you.
Thank you. My question is actually about healthcare. So many women in Wakefield are experiencing issues accessing HRT, with local pharmacies regularly facing stock shortages. So in many cases, the wait time for, say, the Marina Coil is around 12 weeks at GP surgeries. Meanwhile, sexual health clinics like Spectrum in Wakefield won't carry out the procedure if it's for a HRT purpose. They'd only carry it out if it was for contraceptive family planning. So given the local barriers that we've got, I'm keen to know how you'll work with, I guess, the healthcare services locally to kind of make some changes in its specifically women's healthcare, which I'm quite passionate about.
I think you sound an amazing activist and organiser, so good for you. I don't have responsibilities for healthcare yet.
Okay.
However, there is a movement towards mayors having more responsibility for health and well-being. And I think we will be closer to the Integrated Care Board. We'll be on the board. So we will be able to talk really effectively about commissioning of services. So as somebody that has been through the menopause and out the other side, I know do not deny a woman her HRT if you want a tranquil community. So I think as we go forward, we'll be able to have more, be able to have more decision making on that. However, let's not lose this moment. And if we can speak outside of this meeting, I'm very happy to write to West Streeting and say this isn't working, that you've just allocated something that works for menopause just for contraception, when actually there are women who really would benefit from it. So happy to take that away. And isn't it the case that women's health is often the bottom of the list.
Yeah, I mean, I find
so,
it like phenomenal that I can look on M&S website and see that there's a jumper that I like, and there might be, I can see in the region where that they have stock, but I can't check my pharmacies and see what stock levels are for things that I actually need for my health.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's something that's going to be, I guess, more a nationwide.
Well, we are the home of the
question.
NHS in West Yorkshire.
Yeah.
We have more digital health and life sciences businesses than anywhere else in the country. It's crazy that we don't have the tech that could help us with that. So thank you for raising that.
Thank you.
Something
Shall we try a couple of questions?
Sorry, I answered straight away. Apologies.
I know, but it was a very interesting topic.
Yeah, just picking up on what the gentleman was talking about, the Transpennine service from York to Manchester. There was a public meeting a couple of months back at which there was a representative from TPE there, and they absolutely categorically said there was no certainty that that service would continue, which frankly would be ridiculous. I believe it was introduced when Castleford train station was redeveloped, and it means that you can get from Kirkgate to York without having to go through Leeds. You can get from Wakefield to Huddersfield in 22 minutes. I do it regularly. If you go on the bus from Wakefield to Huddersfield, it's now an hour and 20 minutes because there's no direct service other than one that goes through Grangemore or Emily Village. So whilst I fully support your efforts to get buses much improved, we can't take a backward step with the trains.
I meet regularly with TPE, and there's a whole drama at the minute about the blockade in a number of communities along the route because the work is ongoing, and so there will be diversions. So it may be they're talking about a temporary diversion, but let me find out because I speak to them regularly, and I'll make the case, and we'll see, and I'll be able to feedback.
Right, well, it's 2 minutes now, so
I know,
try
I
and
keep
the,
answering people directly, sorry.
Questions short.
I'm going to take all of them all at once now, so I'm going to be quiet.
Hi Tracy, I'm just going to ask you a question on sort of training in the region in West Yorkshire. Over the last few years I've worked for several national training organisations doing adult education, and I'm just wondering, is there any opportunities for sort of the training organisations to be more localised? I have found that there's a lot of people, how can I put it, that get sort of left out from the training because it's more about profit margins than actually meeting the needs of the individuals who are attending. That's what I found with the larger organisations. So I just thought I'd ask you about that, if there's any opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. And if just to get one more.
Hi Tracy. Just a wee question about transport again. Would you agree that there should be a transport users body incorporating bus users, disabled groups, climate activists and the unions? I mean, I've recently met with one of the trade unions, one of the Unite branches that represent bus workers, and they're very concerned about they're looking forward to franchising, really looking forward to, but they're concerned about the lack of seemingly the lack of consultation. How will that be addressed, Tracy? As I say, we want to see a body which we can put into.
I think there was one
gentleman
just
one,
here.
yeah. We've got one, last one, we can answer all those.
Well, what I was going to say, Tracy, is you've got local authorities working their nuts off to give young people an opportunity. And we've got a Chancellor who's closing down the very firms who would employ them. You can't go on like that because there's less jobs. I'm a product of the old method of apprenticeships. I've got a master's degree, I've got the confidence of 2 Japanese car companies to go and talk to them about new models. That is the most difficult thing to get going. The Japanese trust nobody. But we can't go on like that. You're wasting your time and the kids are wasting their time.
I would beg to politely differ, because I do think times have been difficult decisions have been made at the centre, I do understand that, but locally, working with businesses, whether that's the Mayor's graduate scheme, where we take young people, we identify, hang on, let me finish, where we take young people and we introduce them to an SME where they would not necessarily know that business because they would go to just the household names, and bring that young person into that SME that really needed it. We are also supporting businesses who are taking young people with a disability or who have been out of work for a while, and supporting them with incentives to ensure that that young person can get started. Businesses want young people, they want these new ideas, and we can, through devolution, make a real difference, because we know our businesses, and to your point about trust, that we are trusted by local businesses to support them when they need it. And to the point about localism, it's really important that when we make decisions, we keep the West Yorkshire pound in West Yorkshire. I know that there's amazing training organisations, we use them all the time, that are here delivering for the people that need those courses. So if you have a training, it sounds like you have a training company, we work with FE colleges, we work with private providers as well. We have a framework of people that we use, but be interested to know more about it. But also to the gentleman at the back, I'm quite surprised that you've said about the unions not having that consultation, because we have worked incredibly hard, haven't we, Tim? Really working hard with bringing the unions with us, because they're going to be the solution to franchising. And if I can just use one example, I met with a group of female bus drivers, all Unite members, and in that meeting they told me that because there are no loo breaks, men can go up the stairs and have a wee in a bottle. This is all a bit graphic, but 7 out of 8 of the women, and they had a meeting a few days before I arrived for a new colleague, and they were introducing her to the business. 7 out of 8 of those women had had their gallbladder removed. Why? Because they had to hold on to their wee. And there were menopausal women who were having incidences, they're having to sit on their fleeces because they had flooding. I would not have known that without the trust and confidence of those Unite members to tell me the truth about what their lived experience is. But Alison, you want to
I'm just really desperate to tell you that I wrote to Sharon Graham 3 times to invite her to West Yorkshire to talk to Tracy about the work she's doing to get women on buses and other matters, and 3 times she ignored me, even though I was a 42-year Unite member, with Mum and Dad, life members at T&G. I'm now an Usdaw member.
Thank you, Alison, for that.
That's the regional secretary rather than the national secretary.
I did write to Karen as well.
We have got 2 minutes, we've got to be really quick, so quick questions please, the lady in the stripes and the gentleman at the back, because they have been very
I'd just
patient.
really like to pick up on the comments about young people. What does a young person who is in his 20s, so he's not a teenager, he's not just out of school, he has a disability. I spent hours trying to find him a job. He's got a disability, he can't work full time, it just is beyond him. Where do I, as a parent, go? And we talk about COVID and the children that struggled. He struggled, and he's still struggling. So where can he go? Where can I go?
We'll just get that question as well, then we're just going to finish.
I will help you with our careers hub. Okay.
Hello, we talked a lot about devolution, and I'm wondering if you would like to have some of the trailblazer powers that we've seen given to Greater Manchester and to West Midlands, so that West Yorkshire can have some of those powers and over all sorts of things beyond buses. Would you like to do that?
The good news is we do, because we get the integrated settlement that the Trailblazers in Greater Manchester and West Midlands, they trialled it for a year, and April we're getting £2 billion for our region with those freedoms and flexibilities. So it's quite an amazing time to be in West Yorkshire, because we've got the backing from government, we've got the confidence and trust from government that we can deliver as mayors, working with Labour councils and councillors who tell us and are in our ear all the time about what we need to do. And also, you've got some fantastic Labour members of Parliament here in this region that are always in my office demanding more of me. So we are on Thursday announcing £230 million of investment in West Yorkshire, and a fair chunk of that is coming to Wakefield.
We've got a thumbs up there, so I think that's a good thing to end on. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm sorry we can't get to